Today we're joined by my friend Aaron Branch, who runs Start and Scale, which is a fantastic marketing company. Aaron is incredible at marketing and paid ads, running creative, understanding what Meta need and want, and scaling businesses. He's done it multiple times. He was once on Dragon's Den, pitching on a company that he was formerly part of. He talks about some of the ego he had in his 20s, which I can really relate to now being a real family man and really loving scaling Start and Scale, amongst a few other business ideas he's got going on. Aaron is really down to earth. He's fantastic at sales. He's fantastic at marketing, and he's really enjoyable to speak to. He has some great boundaries around family, which I really enjoy and resonate with. And his secrets to success are really interesting and have changed over time. It's nice to hear a story that has had its ups and downs, and he's learned from some of the mistakes he's made in the early part of his life. Still a young fella, still got loads to go and give. This was a really enjoyable conversation, and also really interesting if you are into marketing or need to market your business and ads. There's a couple of nuggets on where and how to start in there as well. So I hope you enjoy today's Secret to Success podcast. Welcome to the Secret to Success podcast. Aaron Branch, thank you for joining me, mate. It's going to be a pleasure, always is. Look, let's dive straight into it. Success looks different to everybody. What does success look like to you, and how has that definition evolved over time?
Right in front of me on my desk, I've got these pictures. I've got 3 little Polaroids of my little ones. Success for me has been a present dad first, present partner at home, and business is the facilitator of being able to do that for both of those parties, if you like, the family unit. The way that it's kind of evolved for me is when I first started in business, it was all about, the grind, the hustle, full commitment. But the reality was I didn't have anything else to do back then. I didn't have a family. I didn't have any responsibilities, 2016. And for me, it was easy to lock in and just go all in, 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. If I wasn't the last one leaving the office, something was wrong that day. But as I've evolved, I've become more efficient with the way that I work, more calculated and strategic with the way that I approach business, marketing and sales. So yeah, success is definitely close to home. That's where I measure it.
Yeah, I love that. And what I love about you, and I've asked you a few times for whether it be a text after 5 or jump on one of my calls in an evening or what have you, and you're like, nah, kid time. Like, yes. Your boundaries are real set. And I've got more respect for that than anything. That's not like, you're like, no, that's the time I spend with the kids. I know that realistically, barring an emergency, I can't get hold of you after certain times, which is I'm absolutely fine. Great, know that you'll spend that time. And sometimes we all think we're present with kids, don't we? But we've still got our phones by the side of us, or we're still replying to stuff, or we're still trying to do stuff. And that isn't present, is it?
Yeah, for me, one of the things that I said was it's a non-negotiable now. So, previously, of course, we serve clients, so we want to be there for clients, but also it's a non-negotiable. Because at the end of the day, if I'm sitting in an office without them all day long, and then from the morning I see them, and in the evening I'll see them on a weekday, if I'm working 5 days that week, and it's like they have to become a priority in order for us to see them through to what we know they can achieve. It's the biggest investment in your life, not financially, but it's the biggest project any parent has, is raising their children and trying to help them, become whoever they want to be. So it's a non-negotiable. It isn't easy, of course. I'm no saint, I'm no fatherhood hero. For me, it's just making sure, if I am at home, sometimes when I walk through the door, I'll leave my phone in my jacket pocket and I'll leave it with the car keys. So until they've gone to their bed and they're asleep, I won't be bringing out any distractions. But of course, no one's perfect, right? And there has to be, a balance to the equation as well.
Yeah, 100%. And actually, the guy on my last pod, a guy called Phil McKenzie, who's a Canadian fella that I used to play rugby with, he's got 4 boys under 7. Jeez. He's built an incredible personal brand, 500,000 followers and all sorts of doing really good stuff, really great. But he's got these 4 boys, and they don't do screen time. So the boys don't have iPads or TVs, which was a big choice. They said, that's a big call. And again, they'll say the same, not saints, but that's worked out better for them in the long run for a few reasons. But yeah, big. And I said this to him, having children's a full-time job, right? Like it's not just we should have it because the society say we should have kids. If you're going to have them, then you need to invest your time and effort into that. So yeah, big kudos to you for that, mate. What is the secret to your success, and how can somebody apply this to themselves?
Secret to my success is really simple. Run ads. It's that simple. Obviously I'm biased, but I just had a talk in Leeds yesterday to a couple hundred business owners. And, whenever I'm doing a talk, I always think about what's the actual thing that will move the needle? What's the thing that actually has changed? Because you can talk about anything and people will consider it valuable because you've chose to talk about it. And really and truly, like, building an infrastructure organically is stage one. You need that foundation so people can validate who they're seeing on the advertisement. But to get in front of the right people quickly with a clear message, advertising is just the most powerful way to do it. And my life changed after I saved up enough money from, that first year in business and started running my first ads. I'll never forget, like, I was in my kitchen washing the dishes and I just launched my own ad campaign for the first time. Been doing it for clients for about 12 months now. And that whole period was suffering, chasing, trying to, convince people back then as well, where Facebook ads weren't as popular as what they are now, trying to convince business owners and educate them on why this is the future, and getting a lot of resistance, a lot of rejection. And whenever you're chase, you attract run. So the more you're going for it and you're putting out this output, the more people are almost repelling that because of the energy it's coming with. And it really changed for me. I'll never forget. I was washing the dishes just to avoid looking at my phone. I've got a dishwasher at that same place, right? I was washing the dishes to avoid looking at my phone because I was so worried that, I've put my best advert out, my best offer. I can't afford to lose this money, right, on ad spend without making some sales or at least getting an opportunity to sell. And then when I eventually looked at my phone, I had 2 leads, 2 book calls for the first time in my career. People coming to me saying, yeah, know what you're about, know the offer, and I'm on a booking a call to see if we're a good fit. And that was a breakthrough moment. And I got emotional that day. I'll never forget my little Jack Russell, Milo. He was there looking up at me and I just looked at him and I broke down in tears because it was a really big breakthrough moment where I was like, wow, now that I've experienced this, I'm never going back. And that's all it's been ever since. It's just refining that message, refining who it's going to. But run ads, get in front of the right people. It's the fastest way to learn everything you need to learn about who your customer is, if your offer fits the market, and also the easiest way to be creative and to grab attention to the right people as well. So it's all about ads for me, man. It just changed the game.
Obviously, since I've met you, and obviously you run ads for our stuff, and it's been incredible. And it's more than just running ads, isn't it? It's the creative, it's the targeting, it's how you do it. Like, and there's lots to it. I'm just going to dive into it a little bit more. I always say to people, from books I've read, that I think you need to be good at either marketing or sales, and if you're good at both, then you'll crush it. And you're really great at both. And even helping us with like sales scripts and stuff like that. You get human psyche, which I suppose you've got to when you're looking at marketing. You're trying to get into people's brains, aren't you, and work it all out. If there's a business owner listening to this and they're just sort of like on the fence, they don't want to spend the money, like what are sort of 2 or 3 tips, obviously other than come straight to start and scale and just get it done for you, hands free, pretty much. What little tips would you have for them in just getting started and dipping their toe in the water?
The tip is just do it. Your first ads are going to be shit, right? They're not going to, if you're doing them yourself and you haven't got any experience with it, just accept that they're not going to be received and be the most smash hit campaign you ever run. However, at the same time, if you just get them up, you get market feedback straight away. So yeah, just run your first campaign, get it up there. It's not hard to administer just building a campaign. Meta have made it very easy to go and spend money with them and give all your money to Mark Zuckerberg. But you'll learn so much. So if you just get your first campaign up, that will immediately give you a barometer on how much help do you actually need. The best way to consider this is once you've published a campaign and then you see it on your own newsfeed, then you can really put yourself in your customer's position or your prospect's position and judge yourself from the forward facing. Because when you're building it, when you're putting it all together in Ads Manager, you don't really have that context of how it can be received fully. But when you see it live and you know this is going to be seen by, let's say, 1,000 people, 6,000 people today, that's when you can actually measure, oh, okay, maybe I do need to go get some help and get the creative to another level. Oh, maybe my targeting's off because my auntie, who has no interest in whatever it is that you do, is asking me about, oh, I saw your advert. When did you do that? You know what I mean? So it's really trial and error and putting yourself in a position where, look, you know, whoever this business owner's, whoever it is, advertising is the only way to scale. Unless you're going to become a viral content creator and drive traffic through viral videos, which is incredibly hard to tie in what you do with virality. That's incredibly hard to do. So you can go viral for just going viral sake. And I've done it. I've tested. I've done trends. If I even show you right now, my TikTok, I was hacking the system, applying all the strategies that we give clients. I'm really just doing it as a case study to show clients like this is the level of impressions that are available. If I just go to my analytics for the last 365, 5.6 million views right there on my TikTok. And you can see where I said, basically, screw this, I'm done. And I haven't posted since. And then I started posting a little bit recently because views for views' sake are useless. There's no point. Like, what's the point? Yeah, you're getting famous, you're getting in front of people. For what? They're not the people who you're trying to attract. They're not going to buy your products and services. So let's just cut the bullshit. Let's cut all the noise. Let's just go run some ads, target the people who Facebook have put on a silver platter to say these guys are interested in whatever it is your marketplace is about, and go make some money. Go make some sales. Go serve the market.
The vanity metric of just views and likes is terrible, isn't it? And I was just going to say on the other part of your creative and where you were looking at the sort of like trial and error. If people do start out, and I sometimes do, if I've stopped scrolling, because we all scroll, we all dick about and waste his time. If I do stop and something makes me stop, I try and screenshot it and work out why it's made me stop. Because like if that's made me stop, it's obviously made somebody else. Like how can I implement that into to my business creative or ideas within it? And you're right, like trying to go viral on a niche is really difficult at times. Like I'm in property, and to go viral on a property niche is either some sort of like outlandish hook that you sort of become a real sort of crook in the claim, or you're just going to sort of make it work and hope that when people do come to your page, they feel a bit of authenticity in it and buy through that way, which is a bit more of a long game.
My mindset's changed on it. I thought bigger audience, the better. And, there is a caveat. We've got a content training program. So again, it's just case study and proofing. And we have had tons of business owners generate loads of business organically from going viral. Like, the most random businesses you can imagine, like a quantity surveyor, a wedding planner, a proposal planner. So, they set up these proposal sets. Will you marry me? And they take photos, and they might have a violinist going on or whatever. And it works. But when it comes to clickbait, which is what you're referencing, right? So, the hook can be the best hook in the world, but retention, the line after that is what keeps people there. And provoking, storytelling, all of these things, education is very difficult for that to go viral because people aren't there when they're doom scrolling. They want to be entertained. And it's all predicated on negativity sells more than positivity. So if you've got two newspapers and one's about it's going to be sunny today, tomorrow, and one's saying there's a storm coming, which one's going to get the most sold papers? It's going to be the storm, because fear drives so much more action than the optimism of what things could be. So again, it comes to the psychology and knowing the game that you're playing. So what I would say is, don't focus on trying to be the best or the biggest. Just focus on being first. It's the best advice I've stole from somebody. I don't know where I stole it from, but just be first. So if somebody is in your social media area of influence, as long as in your community, your micro community, when somebody brings up social media marketing, they think of Aaron Branch, that's the goal achieved. That's all you can control. What people get frustrated and end up having affect their actions is, oh, I'm never going to be the biggest. I'm never going to be as big as that guy or that girl. I'm never going to make content as good as them. It doesn't matter. The best is always a variable that changes. It's perception, right? So for me, if you just focus on being first in your network for whatever it is you do, product or service, that is the goal that is attainable. Because that circle, as you post more content, as you run more ads, that circle of influence slowly expands, and eventually business will start just coming your way. And instead of the chase, you're just attracting.
Yeah, just one final point on this little sort of back and forth is and you sort of alluded to it, you just got to start with the ads. It's like everyone wants to be the best to start with. And you're like, no, some of those guys that are doing really well on socials or are good at presenting or are good at editing or good at making it look good, have done it for years. Like, again, this guy fella I spoke to on Friday, like he's done it for 7 or 8 years before personal brand, or just as personal brand was getting big, he's now got 500,000 followers, like an engaged audience and all the bits from it. Whereas like, I speak to people, I say, oh, I don't want to do it, it's really hard, or like I'm not very good at it. It's like, no one's very good when they start. Like LeBron doesn't shoot threes when just by doing nothing, does he? Like you've got to practice, you've got to do it, and that gets better over time, whether that be your ads or even just sticking your face in front of a camera, like, or what have you. Yeah. Like it's not.
Well, if we're talking about short form content, which is probably what we are talking about, it's gonna die within 24 hours. Most posts, they're not going to get any more reach past that. You might get a week's worth of reach, and you might have a video resurface later down the line, and TikTok keeps feeding it to the algorithm, and it gets momentum a couple of times over, which is what I've seen with my own stuff. But it's throwaway content. That's what it is. Yeah. You've got a couple of impressions, couple thousand views, maybe 10, 15,000 if you have a reel that really resonates. But also, the more you dive into business, the more repelled engagement can become. So I've got a big audience from where I started, right? A lot of impressions I can leverage every day. And it's hard to speak to everybody in that audience. It's hard to try and serve everybody with the message. Now, at the beginning of this year, we said, okay, we're going to do a major push for our consulting side of the business with agency owners and marketers, right? And that meant changing up the content. That meant changing up the bio on my Instagram of what we're serving and who we're serving, changing up the link in the profile. And that exiled a lot of my audience because most of my audience are business owners, not marketing agencies, right? However, passionate about the community we're building, loving the results we're getting. So we made that an area of focus coming into 2025, and it's working really well. However, what I've seen is a massive engagement drop, a massive reach drop, so much so that I thought I was shadow banned. So I went and checked in the insights and the settings, like, have I violated any terms? Because the reach has just plummeted. However, this is the thing, like, are you in it for the vanity metrics? You can't pay for your Tesco shopping with your likes and your followers, right? Or are you in it to grow your business? Most business owners are in it for that, growing their business. So you'd rather have a post with 10% of the likes of another post that generates you 3 book calls and 3 conversations than 10 times the likes and no conversations. And it's really important to get over it and just to really just understand why we're all on these platforms. It's the top of funnel. It's to drive attention to whatever it is you're offering. And then when people get on there, they start getting addicted to the likes, the shares, the saves, and they lose focus. And I've been there myself. You lose focus on why you're actually there.
Yeah, mate, there's some gold in there. Like, I do hope people take something away from that. Looking back, is there anything you would have done differently starting out?
Never look back, Simon. Never look back.
And actually, do you know what? I like that. And I like that to do great. Again, another mate of mine played rugby for New Zealand, and he was on a couple of weeks ago, and he was like, I don't regret or change anything. There's a few bits might have done differently, but it shaped me to who I am now. So I presume you're of a similar ilk, whatever you've done.
Yeah, man. You know what? I don't believe in regrets. Like, hindsight's a great thing. You know, if I didn't mismanage that team member, would they have been better off and, you know, performed better? If I didn't, I'll never forget 1 month, right? This was my first agency that I started. We're at the biggest we've ever been. And I was like, you know what? We're going to go for gold. We're going to erupt the sales for this bad boy. Hired 6 in-house sales team members on the phones, literally sitting around a desk like the one behind me, all headsetted up, laptops ready, $2,000 ad spend per calendar. So there was 12 grand ad spend going out per month. It was controlled chaos in a way. And it was very exciting. You know, it was very exciting because backs were against the wall. We didn't have 12 grand to spend on ads really, unless we made it back, which meant that it was very high pressure. And it worked. We signed a ton of new business, but it destroyed the morale of my delivery team because they were completely overwhelmed with a volume. There was no, it was like, you know, when you build a dam to stop a river, right? The dam had just exploded onto them. There was no protection for these guys. They're just getting flooded every day with new work and new projects. And I wouldn't say I'd change anything because I know better and I am better for it now. But when I think back to that time and I think about the mindset of these people, that was really a time where I chose money over their well-being. And again, I was younger, I still am young, but I was inexperienced. And you know, growth has to be sustainable in my view. You can't overwhelm the infrastructure that you have. You have to build them hand in hand. And that's one thing I'd say is I'm definitely conscious about growing sustainably now, rather than just saying, hey, 10x ad spend, 10x sales, 10x delivery. It's not.
I've sort of been there with property. Like when you're a younger fella starting an entrepreneurship, and you have a bit of, obviously as males, we all have egos as well, and we all sort of get a bit carried away. You think you want big as well. That's the other thing. Like I think you're always told to go big, and you listen to the big podcasts as it is.
10x, baby.
Yeah, it is. It's listen to Grant Cardone and do this and do that. And actually, when you realise it, and I listened to a really good one. I've mentioned this a few times. Bristol's a billionaire, a guy called Andrew Wilkinson. He's really good. He's actually when you scale it, when you strip it back, most people just want a good income that you can live a nice life, do the bit. You don't want the stress. You don't want to run a 20, 30, 100, 300 million pound business with all the hassle that comes with that. Like he said, he was doing that. He hated life, hated it. And like realistically, we all probably just want to earn, you know, that good wage, whatever it is, 6 figures, like early 6 figures. Enjoy your life.
Go 7 figures, Simon. You're going to give it all to Keir Starmer, bro. So you might.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So just do it, enjoy it, do your best, go home, spend some time with the kids. Life's pretty simple. Really,
I agree with that. And I think that was definitely, you know, I think it's just young entrepreneur syndrome. You know, it's probably been categorized as something. You want to conquer the world. And the first business is all about conquering and finding out what's possible as well, because all of this stuff is new. So you just, you sell your first deal. You're like, whoa, I've actually done it. It's real. How many of these can I sell if I have this many leads and this many calls and blah, blah, blah. But I agree 100%. Bigger isn't always better. And my first agency was all about, let's be the biggest. Let's try and grow. It was competition. And, you know, you can see the basketball behind me. Obviously, I come from that sporting background. So it's always, everything's on a league basis. Yeah. Who's above us? Who's below us? We need to keep elevating where we're at in the table. And one thing that happens when you're just trying to be the biggest is, you know, you can inflate your costs so much. Overheads can become ridiculous. Daniel Priestley's an incredible influence on the early days of my business journey. I read his book, Key Person of Influence. And that was the first thing that made me start a personal brand. It was reading that book, you know, grow an audience. And he put a post out recently, which is the most rewarding and fulfilling business you'll ever have does between 2 to 3 million with less than 6 staff. And that's definitely an aspirational business to have. Whatever that model looks like for whoever it looks like, you don't know. But I 100% agree, because once we went past 12, I say that now with the team of like 14 all in, but once we went past that 12 mark previously and we went to 22 in-house team members, the amount of communication streams alone, right? I had to hire a performance manager to manage my team leaders and managers who managed the executives. And then the performance manager would report to me. And it sounds great on paper. You know, I used to have mental masturbation sessions, drawing it up on a whiteboard, my operational structure. But at the same time, like, you don't know what's going on that exec level anymore. You don't know what mistakes are being made. You don't know what people's mindset is, their morale, their morale in the business. And by the time you find out, it's too late because it's not getting fed up the food chain, so you can't make decisions on it. So again, and granted, there'll be people out there who are far better at business than me and building organizational structures and performance managing their teams. But that comes on to the next point is I'm a fucking shit manager. So instead of me previously trying to become and elevate, I was buying books on books. The Great CEO Within is a book that I literally studied, implemented. The 1 Minute Manager tells you where my mindset was. I could just be a manager in 1 minute. These are all good books for people who have the right personality type. But there's a difference between leadership and management. They're two different personality types. And I'm basing that off not just myself, but who I've hired. I've seen great salespeople, make them a team leader. They fall off the face of the earth. They can't perform and they can't get somebody else to perform. So again, I think a lot of it comes down to personality type, knowing your strengths, knowing your weaknesses, and also knowing what season of life you're in as well.
Yep. Yeah,
that whole experience that I've just described to you, the first agency, was prior to me having Neo, my son, and perspective shifts immediately occurred.
I do think you're right. I think the perspective is a big thing. That self-awareness and maturity is incredible because, like, I've had that last couple of years. Really, I've done exactly the same. Gone ego, gone big, too much, like above my ability as well. That's the thing. Like, I think that we're taught as well that you're able to do anything if you put your mind to it. And I do think there's an element of ability in life. Like, this hard work is great, but like let's use Elon. Like, he's not all there, is he? In certain ways, he's a freak and he's one of the biggest global business people in the world. But like, there's lots missing in his life. But he's clearly like so talented and so special and works really hard. Like, no matter how hard I worked, I was never ever going to play rugby for England. I just didn't have the talent at it. And it's the same in business. And I become self-aware. I thought I was a bit better detail orientated. I'm chaos. I'm ideas. I'm like, right, let's build this, let's do that, let's do this, let's do that. Like, the detail, like doing the spreadsheet right at the bottom line, like, rubbish. I've just taken on someone to help me with that. Like, I should have done that 10 years ago and I might not have been in any of my pickles that I got myself into. So I think that self-awareness of understanding what your strengths and weaknesses are, what you're able to do, and like you say, you've got skill sets. And I remember a friend of mine who's like, he had a big business, he sold an insurance firm for a lot of money. He said, once you get past 10 people, you're just a Samaritan. Like, you don't even do what you like. Like, he liked writing up insurance products for speed to people, but after 10 people, he was just managing people in an office, and he hated that. So remember what you like doing and try and stick to that too, right?
I resonate with that a lot. Like, when we were at that staff capacity, I used to hate turning up to the office, and I used to drive in, and at the very end of it, that is, by the way, that whole growth journey was a lot of fun and a lot of excitement every single day. But then it got to a point one day where I'd be driving up to the office and you'd have to come back on yourself on a roundabout to get into the city centre car park in Birmingham. And I'll just keep driving past the roundabout, and I'll just go and take a 15-minute drive up to a Costa, which is miles away, just to kill time because I didn't want to be there anymore. And the passion had deteriorated. We'd hired for speed, not for talent. And that meant that, we were taking on so much new work. We just need people in the chairs operating the systems and creating ideas and doing the jobs. And that meant that, one interview hires became almost a norm. 2 interview hires became a norm. And that's great if you find the right person, but I can categorically say we weren't finding the right people. We were just finding whoever was putting their hand up to say, I'm available, and great, we'll train you. We'll get you in a position where you can add value. But, the identity of the business you want, you have to be quite selfish with that. And you've got to also understand that the vanity of social media and engagement is equal vanity in business. Oh, I've got 22 staff members. I used to walk around, swinging my balls on that statement. 22 staff. I still am to a degree, Oh, yeah, we had 22 staff. It depends how you perceive that message, right? But I never want that bigger team ever again.
Yeah.
I never want that bigger team ever again. I'll never forget some months, when we were in that growth phase, I was paying my performance manager more than me.
Yeah, yeah. You're the last to get paid, eh?
Bro,
Like, and
we're
it's
doing over 6 figures a month in revenue, doing over 100 grand in sales a month, and everything is getting given to the
never
machine.
else.
I'm like,
I
why the hell am I doing all of this? Doesn't make
I
sense.
have that now. I used to be like, oh, I want to do big projects. I want a big team. I want this, that, and the other. And like now, if you said you've got more than 3 or 4 staff members, I'd be like, fuck that. Keep it. Like, keep it.
Well, we are your team side dog, so you're blessed.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Yeah, yeah. You just need to find good sort of freelancers and stuff like that, and work with good people. I suppose on that then. So in a world of like constant distractions and whether that just be picking up the phone and doom scrolling, or now where you've got peers that are probably doing bigger things or may not be, how do you stay focused and motivated and not sort of swerve off target, if you will, a bit like you sort of might have done in your 20s, as you were saying?
Well, I already did it. I did it with Deliver Me, the tech investment that no longer exists either. So 5 years of year-on-year growth, and then had my son, Neo, and then I was vacant. I left the business. So I left for 2 months. I stayed at home, new dad, few health complications with Neo in the very early days. So we were in hospital for 2 weeks, but everything's fine. And that meant that I was taking on this new role, but I was always like, when I have a son, I want to be there, I want to be present. Or if I have a child, I'm going to be there, I'm going to be present. So I left the business and kind of just didn't even look at it, didn't even want to know, because of the amount of fires and stress that it was at that point. Because it was the biggest it had ever been. And that was not easy to manage. So what I did was I just gave it to someone else to manage. And then in that period of absence came along this shiny new thing, which was Deliver Me, a tech investment, right? And they initially came saying, we want help with our marketing. And then I looked at it and I was like, look, this is like brand new. It's got big scope. The next conversation and request was, will you invest in it? I used to get these requests all the time, and I'll just bat them off because I was just too busy to even consider it. But I was vacant, I had idle hands at the time. So ended up investing tens of thousands of pounds into this business, and then I ran that business with the founder for, about 18 months to 2 years. Had massive success.
Is that what you went to Dragon's Den on?
Yeah, we had massive success with it. I'm really proud of that journey. Again, this is where the no regrets. It was a really big learning curve again. And that's when I realized I love learning. Like, I love learning new stuff. I love learning new models, technology, industries. And it felt like I was in that growth phase again that I've just been through. And that was addictive. It's all new, it's all fresh. And essentially it was at the detriment of my agency, because I didn't want to know. I even had them in the same business building. So you talk about Elon Musk. I was like, oh, fucking hell, I'm Elon Musk. I'll have social agendas on the 5th floor, and I'll have Deliver Me on the 3rd floor. So every day I'd go into the office, mate, get in the lift. And this is how unorganized I was at the time. It was based purely on emotion, what I'd be doing that day. So I was like, which business do I want to run today? And it would always be Deliver Me. To the point where I'd be in the cafeteria downstairs in the co-working space, right? I'd see my staff from upstairs and they'd be like, oh, I didn't know you were here. I'm like, good.
I'm not. You didn't
I'm
see
not.
me.
Don't message me. Speak to the person who I've left in charge.
Talk to me briefly about Dragon's Den. What was that like as an experience to get on there and do that?
You know what? One of the best things I've ever done. Honestly,
Oh, really?
It was so much fun, man. Like, we were up there pitching for about two and a half hours. That's how long that pitch lasted. It was crazy. Just great. The challenge of it all, the challenge and the performance. It felt like I was going to like a finals in basketball. We've worked all season for this moment. We knew the promotion was going to lead to the second fundraising campaign, which was the case study would have been in 18 months, taking this business from nothing to 10 million in valuation if we completed that raise. I had a big case study and excitement about that case study that was going to come off it. And it was all ego inspired as well. I'm not ashamed to admit it. I was like, yeah, I took a business from 0 to 10 million. Like, look at me, I'm fantastic. And Dragons Den was a part of that, in the sense that we needed the impressions, we needed the publicity. We went on there asking for 50K, and then they discovered when we were on there that our run rate was going to be 15 million that we needed to raise over the next 5 years. So needless to say, no Dragons departing after two. I mean, I'm good at pitching,
Yeah.
2.5 hours for 15 mil. That would have been something.
Yeah, that would have been good hourly rate. That's deep.
That would have been a record. I think maybe I should have been on Shark Tank for those numbers.
Yeah, they would have loved that. Yeah. How have mentors, peers, and even competitors influenced your growth and success? Have you got any good mentors? Have you had any? Is there any challenges or like competitors that have spurred you on? Like
100%. So one of the things that I discounted in my basketball journey and success, because I started relatively late, was 15 years old. I started playing organized basketball, which was just crazy to think that from 15 to 19, 4 years, I got a scholarship and became, the first South Asian player from the UK to ever get a basketball scholarship. So a big achievement. But I discounted, again, all of the coaching that I had up to that point. So, you talk about mentors. When we talk about mentors, we think of people in business who we might have paid or bought a course from or whatever. But mentors exist outside of the business sphere as well. A coach for your basketball team, that's a mentor, that's a guide. And I discounted that throughout my whole career up until 24, until I didn't have any coaches anymore. So then I was going into the world of work, and I became a recruitment consultant in Canary Wharf for 3 months after I graduated uni, and it wasn't working out. And I did get some, results, but they done me out of my commission. Long story short, I left after 3 months and started the business. I went 3 months just aimless, clueless. I went on Universal Credit. I got a loan from the Prince's Trust. I was just taking these micro steps, and the first thing that the Prince's Trust did when they gave me a loan of £4,000 was they assigned me a mentor, and his name's Phil Edwards. Shout out Phil Edwards. This guy would meet with me every single month when I had nothing going on. You know what I mean? Like, he's just watching me develop out of this idea of what a social media agency should look like. And he's now one of the global account sales leaders for LinkedIn. Like, he's never been a business owner, but he was still a fantastic mentor because he knew sales process, he knew lead generation, he knew business development. So he was really, really influential in the early days of the career. And then since then, it's too many people to note, but I've constantly reinvested in myself. I've constantly looked at how can I do what someone does, not just what they say. So if I see somebody who's fantastic at running ads, how do we do that in our own way? If I see someone who's great at public speaking, how do I do what they've done? Not just think about what they're selling. So how are they presenting that offer? Dude, as I sit here right now, literally came off that event yesterday. I've got 6 pages of notes on one of the speaker's talks. Guy's a world-class speaker. I've known him for a long time. So I study. I still study. 8 years later, I'm still studying. Whoever I see, I can take inspiration from. I study them and I take notes, literally.
Yeah, I found that as I've got older, and I'm not that old, I don't think we're about a similar age, like I've realised you sort of learn, or you find out what you enjoy learning, so you can double down on it a bit. Obviously, like, school's really broad, isn't it? Like, it's like, oh, try everything and like just do it and get through the exams, whether you like it or not. Don't matter whether you fit into learn or not. Whereas as you get older, you learn how to learn, what you like learning, and then into it. And I found that, and I get more and more excited. I'm loving learning the sales process and marketing, a bit of osmosis through you guys, how you do it, the funnels, the sales, all the parts of that, the ads, everything, like the creative that comes in it. I'm fascinated by, like, as you said, like, get fancy cameras like this, fascinated to make like things look good. Just everything about
though, man. The camera, the quality of your camera that you're broadcasting from now is phenomenal.
Oh, it's incredible, and like, there's loads of good people. There's better presenters at podcasts than I am, or whatever. But if you could just get a little bit better at each point, a little 1% each point, then hopefully over time, I can get this going. And it is interesting when you learn how you work out what you like learning. Like, I've got no interest in geography really, other than which holiday I want to go on next. And
what territory are you targeting with your ads?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Who spends? Where can I get the best ROAS on from it? Or this? My geography this week has been Cal Cox. He's back in Ibiza, so can we go to there? So like, it's Right. I'm not going to ask you the last question actually because it was a bit about starting over, and I know you wouldn't, so we've done that. But what's the hardest decision you've ever had to make, and what have you learned from that?
Hardest decision business wise, or we're talking about life?
No, it could be anything. I suppose this like I know we keep talking about business, but this could be anything really. Like,
Well, hardest decision in life was leaving the UK at 19 years old for that basketball dream. So, as great as it sounds and as excited as I was to leave the UK to play in the States and be funded in the States, it was hard, man. It was hard. You're leaving behind every friend, every family member, every security kind of comfort that you've grown up with. And then flying out to a country you've never been to before was a heavy burden, and I was fine all the way up until sitting on that plane and put my music in my headphones, and I just burst into tears. I'm an emotional guy, it sounds like, from this. I'm just crying all the time. But like, these breakthrough moments are very emotional for me because of what I was leaving behind. A lot of my motivation for basketball was coming from leaving a toxic environment in the UK. So it was almost like a relief, but then also a sacrifice, because to get away from that environment that I was in, I had to sacrifice everything else that was good about my life and the people I know and everybody at home. So definitely one of the hardest decisions to do, but one of the best decisions I ever made.
Yep.
And then in business, hardest decision I've ever had to make. I don't really see them as hard decisions, I've got to be honest. Nothing just immediately springs to mind. Maybe I've not executed on a few hard decisions out of comfort. So out of convenience. So, that might have been getting rid of certain team members a lot sooner than I did, because to replace them and to go on that journey of hiring and replacing certain positions would have been a lot of effort. And having the convenience of somebody who's in motion and thinking to yourself, oh, I can performance manage them, I can upskill them, I can train them. That seems like the more logical thing to do, when in actual fact, I probably put off the decision to get rid of people after major catastrophic mistakes and errors just because of the convenience. So, business isn't hard. I really believe that. Like, it's a challenge, but what's hard is waking up and going to a 9 to 5 you fucking hate every day.
Yeah,
that is hard. Yeah. And I did that for 3 months in Canary Wharf. And I've had a ton of jobs that I hated. I was a glass collector when I was 18 years old. I was a labourer when I was in my teenage years on a building site, all whilst in education, right? And, I was a street fundraiser for the British Red Cross whilst I was in uni in London, getting people just looking at you like you've got the plague because you're wearing a British Red Cross charity jacket.
Yeah.
So that was hard. Business, this is a dream, man. Like, I've come up, my team are here, my team are in the back. Like, I come in my office, I'm not on anyone's clock. I've got my meetings. I schedule those at appropriate times that suit my life. This is the dream, man. Like, this is a blessing. This is what I'm grateful for. And it's now in a place where when you lose sight of that and when you start thinking, oh, this is too much, this is hard, I'm going to give up, too much rejection, too much, not enough leads, or whatever the drama is of the day, right? Just remember the alternative, dude. You're answerable. And yes, we are answerable to clients. And I'm not saying, oh, I run the world. But what I'm saying is I get to choose who I serve. I get to choose who we as an organization serve. That's liberating. Now, of course, we serve these clients, we make money, we take our profit, and we give it all to the UK government. But
you're giving back. You're giving back. I don't know who to.
Funding essential services, aren't I? However, the fact of the matter is, you're going to give it either way, so you might as well have control of your destiny. And I'd rather have that freedom. If I wanted to book a holiday right now, remove all my meetings, give them to the team, I can.
Yeah.
I can.
Yeah.
But I don't want to. I want to be here. This is where I have the most fun. This is where I'm the most creative. And this is the place where I can have the most impact. So, it's a blessing, man.
And I suppose, like, just as we're finishing off, what does the next sort of 5 years look like for Aaron Branch, Start Scale, and all the bits and pieces that you've got going on?
The first thing for me with the next 5 years is, one of the things that I value now more than ever is community. And I was against community. I never wanted consulting clients who were a part of a community, because I never wanted that, because I was so busy building my in-house community of all these
Yep.
human beings, right? I was like, what, managing more people in a group? Forget that. That doesn't sound like me. But over the last 2 years, I introduced community to the consulting side of what we do, and it's been the most rewarding thing ever. You know, people who are on the same journey as you, same industry, different levels. That's been amazing. So I want to continue growing that. It's something I'm really passionate about. It's an exclusive now, Dog. I am currently engaged back in the tech world. From all those
Okay.
lessons of Deliver Me, all that growth, all of that trajectory, all of those valuations, I am now back in a tech capacity, which I can't say too much about yet. It's early doors. But I truly believe like everything I've done in the last 8 years has prepared me for this moment, because the longer I've been in business, the bigger the problems I've been able to identify and start solving. And not all problems people bring to you and say, hey, this is my problem, can you solve it? You've got to innovate and see those problems in your marketplace and see those problems from a client's perspective and be like, actually, we can solve this. And given the tech experience I've had, the agency experience I've had, I'm very, very excited about the next 5 years and what we're going to launch on the horizon.
Mate, it's good. It's nice to hear. Like it's good to hear when people are excited. It's good to people hear when they've got a buzz. I love, like I said at the beginning, I love your boundaries around family as well. Like it's nice. It's refreshing to hear. You're a feel good guy. Like I always enjoy speaking to you when we talk, predominantly about marketing and work. But I was come off the calls feeling better, which is, big credit to that, mate. Like it's a pleasure. So
yeah,
thank you for joining me today.
This next thing, I appreciate you, jumping on together. And when you ask for something, right? When you say I want something, you get presented with opportunities to create that. And those opportunities are usually uncomfortable. They're usually going to be painful because they might require you to grow. It might challenge you in places where your insecurities come out, you know what I mean? And this is talking from my own experience. But the lessons and the cost of an education to get to where you want to go, you think you need to go this direction, but you'll go this direction and you'll still end up getting closer than if you went the direction you thought. But you can't go in any direction until you have your bread and butter secured, your business doing a certain level of income and cash flow for you. So everything is stepping stones to the destination that you set for yourself. And the main thing is you just start and have no fear of failure, because failure and success are all perceptive. One person's success is another person's failure if you just look at income. So yeah, man, whoever's listening to this, if they're trying to scale up, go for it. If they're just trying to start, go for it. And also, if they just want to stay exactly where they are and stay cushy with what they're doing, go for that
Happy
as well.
with that?
Yeah, I've got friends who are high income earners. They work for big companies. They're buzzing. They wouldn't change the world.
Sweep the roads if you're happy. Like, do what you want. So
exactly.
Right, great point to finish on, my man. Thank you very much for joining us, Aaron. I really, really appreciate it, dude.
Cheers brother.
Mate.
Thank you. Take care.